What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Someone let Miyamoto get loose, and what does he do? He goes online and announces a direct like 10 minutes before it was supposed to happen, and yes, they did announce a brand new Star Fox game, and we're gonna go over all the details for it here today. Also, we are gonna be talking about another game that people bring up constantly, Mina the Hollower. We finally got the release date and the price for it. And then we're also going back to Nintendo because investors and analysts are now pressuring Nintendo to raise the price of the Switch 2. But it kind of puts the company in a very precarious situation based on the early life cycle of the system. We'll go over all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with a presentation that happened yesterday for Stranger Than Heaven. This coming from RGG. And they showed off many aspects of the game, but they also gave us a release window for it, I guess we could say. Anyway, VGC did have a good rundown of the whole thing here, mentioning some of the different time periods and locations, 1915, 1929, 1943, 1951, 1965. We had some backstory for the main character, and the thing that was kind of interesting to me is some of the gameplay, or at least the game's, like the combat mechanics, where you will have left and right bumpers and triggers. Those control your left and right limbs. So, for example, if maybe your arm is grabbed by an enemy on the left side, you can then use your right arm, but all that controlled by that specific bumper, or I guess your legs or something. So, I don't know, that sounds kind of like an interesting idea there. The game, though, they say is coming out this winter. We know that doesn't necessarily mean this year, as that can technically end up in 2027, but they have it announced there for Game Pass, Xbox Series X, S, PC, and then also on PlayStation 5. So good stuff there. I feel like seeing Stranger Than Heaven with those different details and mechanics, and looking forward to that one later this year or early 2027. Also, with the Steam controller now shipping out after orders were put in, and yes, scalpers trying to resell them all over the place, Valve did actually release some of the CAD files for the accessory, and you can see this is over on the Steam community website here, the Steam controller and Puck CAD files now being available, saying they're making those files for external shell or surface topology of Steam controller and Puck available for download under a Creative Commons license. This is cool because it's very easy then for people who maybe want to make accessories or mods for the controller, because remember, so many people out there now who will do work on different modifications will actually kind of figure all this out with, say, a 3D printer, and then release those files into the wild for people who maybe want to make different grips or something for the controller. There's all kinds of stuff you can do, of course, but just the different mods for it, I'm sure will be awesome. People are really, really interested in this controller. Of course, it goes alongside of Steam very nicely. So it's great that Valve decided, you know what? We'll just put the CAD files out there to make it that much easier so someone doesn't have to say, get a controller, break it down, do all the measurements. They'll just go ahead and make that happen right away. Oh, and Asha Sharma continues to move along here with what seems to be just kind of a rebranding for Xbox. As you can see, they're doing an entire new boot up animation that's coming next Wednesday. It has new sound and everything to it as well, and it does seem to like line up with the new logo that they've shown off here, that I think calls back to the like original Xbox kind of color scheme and look. Technically, this is just, it's brand new, but I just kind of the way it feels seeing it, it does remind me of that time period specifically. And I'm sure that's kind of what they're doing as they're sort of talking about the Xbox being almost reborn now, I guess, with this new leadership. And of course, she was also building her team, as we talked about this week, bringing new people in from Core AI, but then also backing off of AI for Xbox. So hard to say what exactly is going to happen here over the next couple of years, because this is going to be a long-term play, but I think the big thing we'll have to keep an eye on again is for how they tackle the Project Helix launch. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Nintendo and Star Fox, as they made the announcement 10 minutes before the Direct. No, actually, like seriously, look, here we go. This is on their social media account. This is Miyamoto. Okay, just so we're all aware. In just a moment, at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, we will live stream Star Fox Direct. So they even put the date there, even though it was, okay, sure. I mean, they announced it 10 minutes before, really, if you look at it. They announced it at 5:50 p.m. Eastern for a 6 p.m. Eastern presentation. All right, the presentation runs for approximately 15 minutes, and I'd be delighted if you could take a look. I mean, so many people online I saw, they're like, I'm not home. I didn't know this was going to happen. It's like, yeah, they legitimately just announced it. I don't know what the deal was here. It seems very off. I mean, sometimes they just drop say just a presentation, right? A pre-recorded video and stuff. This was like fully live streamed, and they treated it like kind of a standard, well, like a game specific, we'll say, or franchise specific direct. But they also announced it again, like right before it was going live. So that was kind of strange, but still, on we went with the direct. It was about 15 minutes long, and they started off by talking about the Mario Galaxy movie. And why wouldn't they? Because Fox was legitimately introduced to a whole bunch of people, I'd say for the first time, a new generation. And then obviously it was a cameo that people, older gamers, I'll say, were very, very excited to see play out on the big screen. And I thought they did a very good job with the limited screen time for Fox McCloud. Still, though, they wanted to tie that, which is massive, obviously massive box office smash for them, and again, getting to a lot of the general audience, wanted to tie it in to their new game that's just called Star Fox, and it is a remake of Star Fox 64. I know, people are like, oh, they're doing it again. Yeah, they did that with Star Fox Zero, and now they're remaking Star Fox 64 here under the name Star Fox for the Switch 2. But it's also, I think a lot of people, when they think of Star Fox, I feel like most people think of Star Fox 64. I don't know many who are like, oh, Star Fox and the Super Nintendo. Or, Star Fox Adventures, but you don't necessarily do like the Star Fox rail shooter and like fully like this. So I think most people think of this game, and Nintendo clearly believes that because they have now remade it a couple of times here with this one. Still, though, when they go into the game, the visuals for the gameplay side look great. Is this the best looking game so far from Nintendo? I mean, we're early on in the Switch 2 era, obviously, for them to get maybe that kind of hardware at their disposal. I think so. I think just visually speaking, when they were showing the gameplay, it looked really good. Okay, only issue, the character models look kind of strange, all right? And it's just they went with a more realistic look for the game, so then obviously that translates over to a more realistic look for the characters themselves, and they even mentioned it takes on more of an animal design, and it certainly does. I think it's going to take some getting used to, because so when they first showed it, I was like, oh, that looks kind of weird, that's strange. But then we see more like artwork shots that are being put up online after this direct was happening, and it looks better for the character models at different angles. So I don't know, is this something that's going to like grow on people as we go along? Is this going to be Fox's design if they do more games in the future? I'm not sure, but still, that's just the direction with it. Looks good. I will say the character models look good in the portrait. Like, the part where you're flying around and you see like the little screen come up on the corner and the characters talking to you. That doesn't look bad. It's just when they have the cutscenes going, I don't know, it looks a little off. But either way, they will have additional cutscenes for new backstory, which is pretty cool, even between some of the different missions. So you'll get to know some of these different characters more than you did with some of the previous iterations of this game. They showed the Landmaster, the Blue Marine, so as you'd expect, those will be in the game, and they just wanted to give us an idea as to how they look here. Different paths, obviously, as you go along, depending on if you do the mission accomplished or mission complete, based on the objectives or things you do in each level. Normal, easy, expert difficulty, those are all available. They have challenges. It's almost like a checklist they have for some of these different levels or missions that you can go through and try to just challenge yourself to do. Battle mode is what I was very interested in because, okay, look, you have Star Fox 64. We've played it. We've gone through it. Absolute classic game. I'll play it again here. I think it'll be a lot of fun. But battle mode is where we're going to tap into the online aspect, right, for the Switch 2 that would obviously separate it from the previous iterations here. This will be 4v4 dogfights, and there are 3 stages set up with different rule sets. Okay, so you can also do 4 players locally with Game Share or through Game Share Game Chat, but I do like the idea of having 4 people, you and 3 friends, I guess, jumping online into a room, and then doing matchmaking, and it'll pair you up against 4 other people. That could be a blast to play online, and then have game chat going so you can chat easily with it. That could be a ton of fun. Maybe if they have like ranking systems or some other stuff that go along with it, I think it could be really, really cool. So I'm looking forward to that aspect, going online with some friends and playing. They also have mouse targeting that they showed off. There's like a co-op mode where you can have someone be the pilot, the other person is the gunner, so they can just use the mouse mode and just move the cursor all over the place, not have to worry about steering the ship necessarily. And then they showed this character avatar setup in game chat, and it tracks your mouth and eye movement with the camera. So you will need to have your camera set up, but It kind of reminds me of people who do like the VTuber thing where they have it so it tracks them completely. Yeah, so I guess with this, Nintendo's going to turn you into Fox or Falco or Slippy or Peppy if you want. Interesting, but sure. It seems like it can just work in game chat even outside, I guess, of Star. So people can see you there if they're playing a different game in game chat, and you'll be Fox McCloud while you're blinking or talking. It does support the N64 controller. There was a Star Fox Adventures appearance. Just wanted to point that out as they're going through the history. And it did close out with a look at the prologue that shows James and Peppy being betrayed. So we'll have some good story beats there as we go through, I'm sure. It is a Switch 2 exclusive, as you'd expect, June 25th on the release. So we are a month and a half or so away from this game coming out. The price, $50 digital, $60 physical. Unless you go to, I guess, I would say Walmart or Amazon as we're seeing them price match, and it'll probably be $50 physically. So that was a nice surprise because I always just brace for impact with pricing, and I've done that with Nintendo for a while. They're kind of like surprised me a bit more as we go along here with some of these game announcements where I'm looking at Star Fox. I'm like, are they going to try to get 70 for this? They're like, oh no, it's 60 or 50. And it's okay, well, cool. That means 50 on Amazon or 50 at Walmart physically. That'll work. So I think overall, this is a really cool, I'm going to say starting point for Star Fox. I know starting point, you're like, we've had Star Fox games in the past. Yes, but this is a completely new era for Nintendo away from the Wii U and then before that even. So this is kind of a way for them to, reintroduce or even introduce the Star Fox universe and game to a new audience, I would say, on the Switch 2. And obviously, after Fox McCloud being in the movie, this is a way to get more people on board with the franchise for what I think is going to be a few other games in the future. Like, I don't think this is the only one. They're like, oh yeah, we'll be back in 10 years, do something else with Star Fox. No, I think Nintendo, just based on the fact that they bring Fox in for the Mario Galaxy movie, I think they have big plans for the franchise. And I think this is kind of the starting point, which, again, I like Star Fox 64. The game looks great. The online component with multiplayer looks great. So I'm on board and I'm excited. So I'll be picking this one up at the end of June when it comes out. But let me know what you think about Star Fox. What do you also think about the idea of Nintendo just randomly announcing a direct, 10 minutes before? This is Miyamoto. Hey, there's a whole Legend of Zelda Direct happening, in 15 minutes. How would you feel about that one? Because that definitely caught everyone off guard for Star Fox. Next up, let's talk about Mina the Hollower, as we do have a release date and a price coming to us from Yacht Club Games, and we can see this. This was posted up over on their social media account saying true final release date, because remember, this game's been delayed. They say Mina the Hollower launches May 29th for only $19.99. All right, so it's out in, about 3 weeks, right? $20. They say prepare yourself for one of the greatest top-down adventures ever to be delivered directly to your soul for less than $20. Technically, they're not wrong about that. It is a penny less than $20. Mark your calendars, tell your friends, wish list now, links below. Okay, so I will say I was always trying to figure out what they would put this at in terms of price point, because while you look at the game and you go, okay, yeah, visually speaking, it kind of plays into the idea of like an older Game Boy look. It still seems to be a game that is packed with content. And like, there's a lot there. If you played the demo, you kind of got an early look and feel for that. So I was wondering if they would test like the $25 or $30 mark. It coming in at $19.99 kind of puts it in that Silk Song territory a bit. And when they put this announcement out, it got a lot of coverage. There was certainly a ton of interest in Mina the Hollower. And there was word going around that Yacht Club Games was heavily reliant. Like, they need Mina the Hollower to work. I think it's going to work, because I do believe people look at the $20 price and go, oh, well, it feels about right, but it also feels like it's less than people were expecting. So I think they're going to buy in. I think this should do very, very well for Yacht Club Games, and I'm excited for this as well. Maybe I'll see if I can get an early look at it through a review code or something, because this is a game that's obviously been on our radar for a long time. Many of you have been asking in different podcasts or in the comment section, what's going on with Mina the Hollower? There we go. Look forward to this one actually here in a few weeks at, I'd say, a pretty good price of $20. Sorry, $19.99. Technically, yes, less than $20. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Nintendo apparently being pressured by investors and even somewhat to a degree analysts about the price of the Switch 2. and how it needs to go up. Now, currently the Switch 2 base price is $450. And I've said this many times, but I feel like Nintendo, even though when they came out with the Switch 2 and they made the announcement for the price, people were like, whoa, that's kind of expensive. It's more than we thought it'd be. I figured at $450, while it felt like a good amount then, it would end up being the cheaper option on the market if they just held that price, because everything else would go up in price around it. So far, that's been kind of the case. However, now it's kind of like in this situation of, oh, okay, a lot of these investors seem to want us to because they're speaking through their stock price, which, yes, Nintendo stock has been, it's been declining for a bit now. Well, we can see, this is over on Bloomberg. This is coming from Takashi Machizuki saying, so why has Nintendo sunk so much lower than Sony? The Tokyo company hasn't been shy about raising PlayStation 5 prices, that being Sony stock versus Nintendo. Nintendo has been sliding quite a bit when you compare it, yes, to Sony here. But again, Sony has just gone out and said, hey, PlayStation 5 prices, they're just going up. I mean, they'll push that, you know what I mean? Hey, update for PS5 pricing, and it's on a Friday or something. You know what you're about to walk into there when you click on that blog post. But they say, Nintendo investors are concerned that the $450 Switch 2 is deeply unprofitable. US tech giants are buying up the world's supply of key components like memory, while trade disruptions from the Middle East war are affecting the cost of shipping and even basic materials like plastics. Hideki Yasuda, an analyst at Tokyo Research Advice, believes the stock will continue to struggle until the price is adjusted, saying, quote, the market is punishing stocks that lack inflation hedging power, Yasuda said. All right, so here's the counterpoint. I gotta give Michael Pachter some credit. All right, people are hard on him. I think this is a good take, though. He says, I think they would be foolish to raise prices. The consumer is hurting. People are paying more for gasoline and food. And when prices go up, entertainment budgets are one of the first things to go. And what does Nintendo need to do right now more than ever with the Switch 2? They have to sell the system because, I mean, right now, it's not even a year old, right? We'll go into June and it'll hit that 1 year mark, but you're gonna look around and go, they're trying to get to, we'll say 100 million Switch 2 systems. And we know, as prices go up for a system, sales slow. That's just the way it is, right? You're gonna eventually get to a point where people go, you know what? I can't afford that right now. I'll wait so many months. I'll wait till next year. And then it maybe gets pushed back a bit further because everything else in the world keeps getting more expensive. So you do have to you got to walk that tightrope. And that's what Nintendo's doing right now, knowing, sure, we may be losing money or breaking even. And they're already mentioning that Japan specific Switch 2, it's quite cheap. I think they're doing a lot around manufacturing and shipping and where they're sourcing it from to try to make that work logistically, sure. But the investors are going to look at that and go, I don't think they're turning in great profit margins, great earnings. So we're not going to necessarily park our money in Nintendo stock because we think AI stocks will be better off for us right now. And that's the thing. Money in the stock market, it literally just slushes around, right? Like it could be one company could be super hot for a month and then it's just like downhill from there for a few months, and it's up and down. It's the stock market. But this is something where I think Nintendo needs to be very, very sure as to what their strategy is. Do they want Switch 2 systems getting out there? Because if so, they probably got to hold the price where it is bare minimum, maybe even work into how they can get a cheaper model out there at some point. But that's something I would be very, very careful with, because if they break into a $500 or $550 Switch 2, the sales are going to slow and they could end up in a very weird situation where they look around and go, hey, our one system, because they don't have two systems anymore, our one system is actually struggling to get past 50 or 60 million just because it's so expensive. What do we do? And then it's really hard to say at that point. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday where I ask, do you think Nintendo will raise the base price of the Switch 2 this year? 68% say yes, 32% say no. So I mean, I think if Nintendo did raise the price, it would go up from $450 to $500, and then maybe there's still a bundle like $550. I don't know if they really want to go to $550 for a base Switch 2 and $600 for a bundle. That starts to get out of control for Nintendo, and honestly, the best situation for them is to try to weather the storm and keep prices where they are. It's just, I mean, if investors are looking at going, it makes no sense for us to put money there, it's not going to be very profitable. A lot right now, I will say, is also riding on the numbers that are coming up here in the next, couple days. Actually, by tomorrow, we'll see where Nintendo is sitting, because they will certainly put out, I'm sure, some stuff in their explanatory material around their strategy when it comes to procuring parts and where exactly they're sitting with their costs versus their profit margin. It'll be a whole thing, and that should at least give us some insight into what's going on here. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Dwayne, who says, $50 was the perfect sweet spot gaming price. 2 games for $100 on a release date with multiple entries is better than not wanting to spend $70 for one game and holding out for a sale in 3 months. I will tell you, as someone who was much younger then, $50 still felt incredibly expensive. And it was just, I mean, you were too young now. I was too young to have a job or anything. You just kind of look at the new games and go, that would be nice. But what really kind of bailed me out for all of that were the fact that there were so many rental stores. You just walk to Blockbuster and get your parents to rent like a game that's, $7 or $8 or something for the weekend for a brand new release. And that was kind of how I experienced a lot of my games back then. And that's not necessarily something that the current generation has, but there's so many free games right now, and even things like Game Pass or the subscription services. There are definitely more games than before that are just available outright for people to play that I just didn't have access to back then. You had so many cartridges for your Super Nintendo. You had so many cartridges for your N64, so many CDs for your PS1, and that's what you played all year until a birthday or Christmas or something came around, and then you kind of reloaded with maybe 3 or 4 games from that. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanted to hear about how the Vita is still getting games in 2026 thanks to the community. I went over that in the video, and I'll leave that right below. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.